Hey everybody, Marcus here, and today we're going to show you how to construct a home 4K YouTube studio with the Panasonic GH4. Do your videos look like this? You know, cluttered backgrounds, bright windows, and people thinking that you're in the witness protection program? Well, with a little planning and some DIY tricks, your videos can look like this, or even this. And we're going to show you exactly how to do it in just 4 steps. Whether you're in a studio apartment, a bedroom, or a spare room in a house, there's room to improve the way that your video looks and sounds. For our project, we've converted this room into a working set. The 4 steps to building your 4K studio are framing your shot, set design, lighting, and audio. The first step to building your home studio is to frame your shot. We'll state the obvious. The reason you want to do this first is because you need to know what parts of the room are on and off camera. There are 3 factors to consider when framing your shot: windows, scene depth, and lenses. Let's start with windows. When you're choosing the location for your shot, you need to think about the light coming in from windows in the room. For tight budgets, you got 2 options: use them or lose them. If you mostly shoot during the daytime and you want to use the daylight coming in, then you can put the windows to the side or behind the camera. Don't put an uncovered window behind you if you can avoid it. This flashback to our earlier example shows you why this is a bad idea. Using the window light helps you save money on lights, but the downside is your lighting will be different throughout the day, and cloudy days and night shoots will have you shifting lights and messing with your camera settings all the time. If you want your shots to be consistent, then you need to lose the window light. To do this, you can either buy blackout curtains or head to the nearest fabric store and get something dark and thick enough to block out the light. The second factor when framing your shot is scene depth. The goal here is to put some space between you and the back wall. This will allow you to light yourself and the background separately, and will increase your chances of being able to throw the background out of focus to keep the viewer's eyes on you. We took all of these factors into account, chose this wall as our background, and covered up all the windows. Now it's time to break out the camera. We've got a Panasonic GH4, so our first step is choosing the right lens, and the number 1 priority for this setup is the focal length. The focal length of your lens will affect where you have to place the camera and how much of the background you'll see. In a small space, you'll have limited focal length options to get the framing you want. Our set is about 11 feet deep, so we'll pair the GH4 with a 12 to 35mm zoom lens. With a 2x crop factor, that will give us a 24 to 70mm effective focal length. At 14mm, the camera needs to be really close, and we see a lot of background. With our lens set at 25mm, we have to slide the camera back a bit, and we see less background. With our lens at 35mm, we have to move the camera up against the wall. This minimizes the amount of background, but ultimately gives us a tighter shot than we really want. With most cameras, we'd probably just stick with the 25mm focal length and framing, but the GH4 gives us one huge advantage: 4K. With this option, we could stick with the tighter shot and know our footage will be future-proof. Of course, we can also shoot at 4K and edit in 1080p. This will allow us to fake some zooms or punch in for close-ups in post without sacrificing image quality. If we wanted to go the 4K to 1080 route, we could use this wider framing and easily cut to this tighter shot in post. Now that our shot is framed, we'll mark the boundaries of our on-camera area so we know what's in our shot. Okay, step 1 is down. Now it's time for step 2, set design. Ideally, your set will reflect the type of videos that you make, but at the very least, it shouldn't distract people from the most important thing in your video, which is you. We've got set options boiled down to 4 choices: natural habitat, infinity wall, color, and green screen. Natural habitat is simply creating a background that fits your personality. So if you're a gamer, you might have a computer in the background, or if you're giving fashion tips, it might be a makeup table. No matter what it is, it should be intentional and thought out. We're making videos about making videos, so for us, this is a perfect fit. Maybe you love cat videos, in which case this would be the ideal background. A second option is to go with a white or black infinity background. Whether you paint the wall, use bed sheets, or buy especially designed rolls of paper, this option is extremely versatile and never goes out of style. If you do go with black, try to keep light off the wall so that it truly looks black after a little tweaking in post. If you go for white, an easy trick is to throw tons of light on the wall to overexpose it on purpose. You can use zebras at 100 to make sure that the wall is pure white. Taking a look at the shot through the GH4, you can see that the entire back wall shows zebras, so we know we're good to go. If classic black or white isn't for you, you can also use a pop of color in your background. A quick coat of paint or the right fabric can be an easy way to get this look. Another option is to keep your wall a neutral color and use lights with colored gels on the back wall. This allows you to switch up the look for different moods. Finally, if you want your background to be super flexible, you can go with the green screen. Keep in mind that pulling this off takes careful lighting and solid post-production skills. If you do go this route, it's worth the money to buy a professional screen or green screen paint. You'll also want to make sure that the wall is lit separately and evenly. We like to use the zebra tool to help determine how balanced the lighting on the wall is. If our lighting is even, and we open and close our exposure, all the zebras should pop on or off at roughly the same time. If you've got a GH4, it's also worth noting that you can record better quality video to an external recorder via the HDMI cable. This will make keying in post easier. No matter which option you go with, it'll be an improvement over just throwing up a camera without any regard for what's in the shot. Here are some general tips about designing your background. Use flat paint instead of glossy. Pick non-reflective fabric to avoid light reflection. Paint a pattern or use wall decals to make the background less generic. Don't make the background too cluttered and don't have items sticking out of your head. Also, adjust computer monitor brightness to be well exposed if it's in the shot. Avoid highly reflective objects in the background. And control your depth of field to keep the viewer's eyes where you want them. Alright, the shot is framed, the set looks perfect, and now we're on to the all-important step 3, lighting. There are 3 main goals of a simple lighting setup. Illuminate your subject so you can keep your video free of noise, give depth to the host, and provide separation from the background. To accomplish all 3 of these goals, you'll need at least 2 lights, but let's start with a 1-light scenario and see what we can do. Make sure you have your camera up and running when you're setting up your lights. On our GH4, we'll start with our lens wide open at f2.8. This will give us the most shallow depth of field possible. We're also going to keep the ISO at its lowest setting of 200 to keep noise as low as possible. We're shooting 24p, so we'll keep our shutter at 50 for natural motion blur. We're also going to make sure that our zebras are set at 100% and turn them on. We're going to strive for 3-point lighting, which consists of a key, fill, and backlight. Let's start with the key light. We're going the DIY route and using this double work light. Place your light 45 degrees off camera and pointing down at a 45-degree angle, or as close as you can get it to that position. This is what the shot looks like, and you can see that the shadows are a bit harsh. Hang a bed sheet or curtain between the light and your subject to diffuse those shadows. Be careful not to let the bed sheet get too close to the light, because they'll get very hot and you don't want a fire on your hands. With the diffusion in place, our shot is looking a little dark, so we'll bump the ISO up to 400. This is what the shot looks like with the diffused light, and you can see that the shadows are much softer. Now you can use a fill light to reduce the shadows on the opposite side of the face. The fill light should be placed on the opposite side of the key light and is typically placed closer to eye level of the host. You can either use another diffused light and back it off so it leaves some shadow, or use a white foam core board on the opposite side and reflect light back onto the subject. As you can see, using just one light and a reflector gives me a nice touch of depth. If you're going with natural light from a window off to one side, then you can use the same technique. To complete the 3-point setup and accomplish our third goal, we can add a backlight. The goal here is to provide a bright halo around me, so we placed our backlight in the textbook position above and behind me. You can see this is an inexpensive light with a regular bulb in it, and we use black wrap to help direct the light and keep it from hitting our background. This is what the shot looks like with just the backlight. And this is the shot with our key light, foam core fill, and backlight. You can see that this 2-light solution goes a long way to giving me depth and separation from the background. If you need to reduce the intensity of your lights, use a bulb with a lower wattage. The professional option is to use neutral density gels, but in a pinch, you can use a dimmer. You can use black foam core boards to flag off light that's spilling where you don't want it. Once you've got all your lights in position, make sure that you set your white balance so all your colors look natural. On the GH4, we simply hit the white balance button, select one of our custom presets, hit up to take a sample, then frame our white paper and hit OK. Now that we've devoted 80% of the time that we have to video, we'll tell you that audio is just as important. There are 3 rules to getting better audio. Don't use the on-camera microphone, don't use the on-camera microphone, and don't use the on-camera microphone. The ideal option is to get a lavalier mic. Whether you run it straight into your camera through a mixer or record audio separately with a smartphone lavalier, your results will be an improvement over any camera mic. You can also go for an on-camera shotgun mic. It makes for an easy setup, but may not sound as good as a lavalier. We're using a wireless mic, so we plugged the receiver directly into the GH4 mic input. We can adjust the gain in the menu to make sure our audio level isn't clipping. So that's it, we've done it, and it only took 4 simple steps: frame your shot, set design, lighting, and audio. With the Panasonic GH4, a little hard work, and some DIY tricks, your home studio will make shooting your videos easier, and they'll look and sound a whole lot better. Thanks for watching.